Now, a lot of people always come to us for car buying advice. So in today's video, I want to cover once and for all the technical aspect of the car buying process, focusing specifically on the purchase of used cars. So if you're about to buy a used car for the first time, you'll want to watch this video to the end because I'm going to show you step by step what to do from the moment you find the car you want until the car sits on your driveway. Now, if you're at a stage of deciding what car to buy, you may want to put this video on your watch later list and tune in next Monday night where Bobby, Tana, Thomas and myself go live to take on your car buying questions. Now, of course, if you are trying to work out your budget, deciding whether the car you want is something you can afford, you may want to check out Thomas's channel where he has released a new series of videos teaching you how to calculate how much income you need to afford the car you want. So now that you have worked out the car that you want, step number one is to browse the marketplace. Shortlist a few cars that fit your budget and of the spec that you want. Do remember one thing, the biggest difference between buying a new car and a used car is that with used cars, each individual car has its own unique history and condition and must therefore be evaluated separately. Because that's the price we pay when we buy a used car, because you're getting the car much cheaper than it was brand new. But the trade-off is that you need to invest more time, more energy to thoroughly scrutinize each individual car. So go through your shortlist, view each car in person and request for a test drive. If the seller refuses, that's a red flag, walk away. Now, of course, when you test drive the car, do drive courteously. You can rev the engine, you can take a fast corner, you can gently go over a speed bump, but don't abuse a car that isn't yours yet. So when you drive, listen for any unwanted sounds, especially when you are going over bumps. Test the brakes, make sure they stop the car in a straight line, and also at the same time when you're on a straight line, try to release the steering wheel, see whether the car tracks straight or not. Now then, of course, when you stop at a traffic light, observe and see whether the engine, is it idling smoothly or not. Now, at the end of the test drive, be sure to let the engine idle a while, maybe at least 5 minutes or so at the same spot. Then you move the car away because this will allow you to identify if there are any leaking fluids or oil. Now you can also perform a quick inspection of the car at various areas. After the test drive, open the engine bay to see if there are any wet spots because that would indicate the presence of leaks. Observe the condition of the front cross member to see if there are any uneven welds or rust because those are sure signs of accident damage. Now you also want to check the car boot. Open it all the way down to the spare tire well to see if the car has been leaking water at the boot. This car no spare tire well. Now, for the interior, pay attention to the steering wheel, to the edges of the seats as well, particularly on the driver's side, to see if there's unnatural amounts of wear, because these serve as warning for tempered mileage. Now, you will also want to touch and feel the carpets at the floor wells to see that if there is water leaking into the cabin. If you're dealing with convertibles, you will want to pay attention to the rear deck area because many of them tend to leak water through the rear windscreen seals. So now after you have test driven a couple of cars, you may have a better idea of which one you are more inclined on. And if none of them feel particularly right, well, move on. But if any one of them tugs your strings a bit, you may want to send it for a more detailed professional inspection. So now for this, you will want to go to a workshop that you can trust and you can check out Evo Club's panel of workshops to arrange for a pre-purchase inspection. The cost of these inspections are usually borne by the buyer, and it ranges anywhere from 100 to 500 ringgit depending on the workshop as well as the level of depth that you want the inspection to go. Now, it is common practice as a gesture of good faith, especially with used car dealers, that you put a deposit down to show that you're a serious buyer before they commit to send the car in for a workshop inspection. Now, the reason for this is very simple. Every time a car goes out, not only does it add mileage to the odometer, it also incurs manpower cost for the dealer to assign a member of their team to drive the car out of the dealership to a workshop. So when you put a deposit down, it's a sure sign that you're a serious buyer who is not out to waste their time. But of course, you will want to negotiate upfront what are the terms and conditions that will entail a refund of the deposit. Because normally, the used car dealer will refund your deposit if the inspection reveals the car to have been with serious accident damage or flood damage, or if there are major issues with the engine and the gearbox. Minor wear and tear things like a few worn hoses or suspension bushes and whatnot, those are not grounds for a refund. And bear in mind one thing, a used car is unlikely to be 100% perfect. There will be some flaws here and there that need to be addressed, and there are no hard and fast rules when it comes to who fixes what. But normal practice is that either the seller fixes it or you can use it as a bargaining chip to negotiate a slightly lower price. Now, some sellers are a bit more transparent. They will tell you all the faults of the car up front, and they are usually happy to go along with a lower selling price right from the start because they just simply are not interested to fix the problem themselves. So when it comes to negotiating price, it's really a case of willing buyer, willing seller. Market value, it's just an indication, but the final transacted figure really depends on negotiations between the two parties. Just remember that as a buyer, you have the right to be firm with your offer, but negotiate courteously, because the seller has just as much right to set his or her own price, just as you have as much right to walk away from the deal. So now when you negotiate with used car dealers, be sure to ask about processing fees. This is normal industry practice. So when you nego, straight up ask them, bottom line the figure for you. How much for the car, including all the registration law, processing law, insurance law, and whatnot, and negotiate from there. So after you agree with the price, there's of course the question of whether you are buying the car with cash or with loan. Now, with most cars, you can take up to 90% of the car's value, which the bank determines by monitoring listings of the same car model in the online marketplace. But bear in mind, different banks can give different valuations to the same car model. So the amount which any bank offers can vary from bank to bank. There can be even such a scenario whereby you're buying a car at, let's say, 120,000 ringgit, but the bank decides that the car's value is only 110,000 ringgit. So the loan amount that the bank is going to offer you is just 90% of 110,000 ringgit. And 90% loan is also only available for 4-door cars. If you're buying a 2-door car, you get at most 70%. Now, a couple of more things to take note with loans for used cars is that your interest increases with the age of the car, and your loan tenure cannot go beyond the car's 15th year. So if let's say that you're looking at an 8-year-old car, the maximum possible loan tenure will just be 7 years. And banks usually stop giving loans for cars that are more than 9 or 10 years old. Now, one time-honored practice in the car industry is that dealers will always refund your deposit if your loan application is rejected. Now, the bank loan application process usually takes about 3 days to a week after all your documents are submitted, and you will usually receive a call from the bank to ask a few questions to confirm whether you're really applying for this loan. They will also be asking some qualifying questions to assess whether you are really able to afford servicing the loan. Now, once the loan is approved, things go very fast. The car first goes for Puspakom inspection. There are 2 inspections. The B5 inspection is required for all car purchases, and the additional B7 inspection is required for used cars that are purchased with a loan. And finally, after the Puspakom inspection will be the JPJ name transfer process, in which your thumbprint is captured to confirm that both parties consent to the transaction. Now, in a case where both buyer and seller are Malaysian, the car dealers or your JPJ runners, they can bring the machine to wherever you are in the country and they can capture your thumbprint on the spot. But if the transaction involves either buyer or seller or both parties non-Malaysian, then, well, both parties need to actually go to an actual JPJ office to do the name transfer process. So after the name transfer is complete, car is in your name, you can then purchase insurance, road tax to make your car road legal. And remember, you can save up to 40% on insurance costs with Evo Club Car Insurance. So do PM the Horizon Facebook to find out more. Now, the used car buying process usually is quite straightforward when you buy from a dealer, because dealers, they have automated all of the above processes. You just pay the deposit, you sign the forms, everything is done for you. Because remember, the used car dealers are making money from both sides of the equation. They would have bought the car at below market price and they would have sold to you at market price and they pocket the difference. So that is where the used car dealers earn their value. But if you are dealing with a private buyer and seller transaction, there's a bit more work to be done. First, the seller's loan must be settled upfront. Means that somebody has to fork out a chunk of cash to pay off the seller's loan. Then after that, if the buyer also is taking loan, then the buyer needs to go back and forth with the bank, and not to mention to do all the Puspakom inspection, the JPJ running all by yourself. So of course, if you want to save time, you can get runners to help you sort out the Puspakom and JPJ stuff. And some used car dealers also offer their service to facilitate the transaction in exchange for a small fee. So now that you've gotten your new car, congratulations. What's next? Well, first, whatever the inspection health report says, you definitely want to give it a full service. We call this resetting your car's clock. Basically, change all the fluids, change all the rubber parts, all the bearings, maybe even get a new set of tires as well. Now, usually after this, most people want to send their car to go tinting, to go coating, and as a quick plug, we can do both these things for you here at Evo Club Car Wash. Now, you also want to consider installing a dash cam as well in view of the recent incidents of accidents, road rage and whatnot, as a form of protection for yourself. Now, one last thing you want to do before going on to enjoy your new car fully is a proper interior deep clean. And I mean, the workshop can tell you that your car's engine is leaking, your gearbox is leaking, but they can't tell you the kinds of things that the previous owner has been leaking inside the car. So if you're in the market buying a used car, I wish you good luck in your hunt. Give me a like if this video proved useful for you, and hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my upcoming future video content. Do comment below, of course, after you've bought your new car. Share your experience with everybody else, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.